The importance of EAM, Enterprise Asset Management, to industrial organizations. We're here to speak with us about that today, Ralph Rio, Vice President, ARC Advisory Group. Ralph, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ralph, I guess with that title, we've established that EAM is important to these organizations, but let's substantiate that now. Walk us through it. Why would you say that?
Well, EAM, field service management, are very important to industrial organizations, and it has to do with the key metrics of the maintenance department that tie into the P&L statement and the balance sheet that CEOs and executives are interested in. Usually, and this ties to the key metric, number one metric for these folks is equipment uptime. The equipment has to be running so that they can make product, and that ties directly to revenue, the P&L statement. The second key metric has to do with equipment longevity, asset longevity. So the longer it lasts, you don't have to replace it. That means you don't have to take cash out of the balance sheet and put it into assets. Your balance sheet looks better to the financial analyst, and the stock goes up, all right? That gets executive attention. They like that. So asset longevity is the second key metric. The third one really is more operational to help the maintenance manager manage the maintenance department, spare parts, inventory associated with purchasing, all that stuff. So it's the execution of maintenance, the visibility to know what's going on, control costs and stuff like that. And then the next ones usually depend on industry. Either it's quality, making sure the product is acceptable to customers, or it's safety, particularly like in a refinery, there's a lot of they're boiling oil, so there's a lot of dangerous stuff going on around, and make sure the equipment is running well so nothing bad happens. So those are the key metrics, and they do tie into the executive metrics of the C-suite.
We've mentioned two different terms here, though. We've talked about enterprise asset management, and you mentioned field service management. So let's make a distinction here. What would that be?
Yes, yeah. So EAM, enterprise asset management, usually focuses on equipment that a company owns inside their own plant. All right. When you get into field service management, field means stuff that is widely dispersed. That can be equipment owned by the company, like in transmission and distribution of power, or in the case of water treatment, the pipelines and stuff like that that go along with water treatment and distribution of water. But also it often involves people who service other people's equipment. Like the Maytag repairman repairing your dishwasher, clothes washer, stuff like that. So in the case of field service management, because their technicians are going out into the field, you start getting functionality like maps, route optimization, so that as they go from site to site, this minimizes the travel time in between, keeping track of the inventory in the truck, so that when they go to the site, they have the inventory. If they don't happen to have it because it got used up, then some change needs to be made to adjust for that. So you get into route optimization. And then the other part of it is when you're dealing with an end customer, there is now a financial consideration. Was the work actually done? Now I can bill them. What's the bill? Maybe there's an opportunity to upsell to some other kind of service or other kind of product. So you get into this financial billing, accounts receivable, accounts payable type stuff going on with field service management.
The industrial Internet of Things is clearly a major component of this year's forum. I mean, it's basically what we're talking about here, and it's the buzz anytime you approach anybody, in the hallway. Let's talk about the Internet of Things and how that affects asset management. What would you say?
Well, there are three key benefits for the Internet of Things that is getting adoption in the industry. The primary one that clearly has crossed the chasm, if you like Jeffrey Moore's types of terms about technology adoption, it has to do with predictive maintenance, meaning you collect data from the equipment and you look at it and it tells you when the equipment is unhealthy, when it's about to fail, and then you get an alert, you send somebody to look at it to repair it. So it's to prevent failures is the primary adoption, okay? Reducing unplanned downtime. The second area that's coming up is what I'll call closed loop PLM. And that is take an equipment manufacturer without IoT, they ship it to their end customer, and they never hear about it, all right? And the only way that they get information to improve the design of their equipment is they run some of the product and test stands internally. And that is not really representing the real world. With IoT, they can take data from the equipment, access data from the equipment. They get real operating data of the equipment that allows them to improve the design and then further improve their market share because they now have a competitive advantage. And the third one that is not quite across the chasm yet has to do with monitoring the process to improve quality and performance.
Because of the connectivity, though, I want to ask you this question because it, too, is a major, major thing that comes up here at the forum, and that's cybersecurity. Is that a concern? Is that part of the discussion when we're talking about asset management?
Well, when you get into IoT, industrial IoT, yes, it's got to be done securely because case study after case study has shown that people who may not be familiar with the equipment can access it, learn about it, and then do bad things. So cybersecurity is of absolute importance. At the forum here, there are several sessions about cybersecurity. There's a whole track on it, I believe. And in our exhibit area, there are several people showing products that really lock it up and make sure it's secure.
So really one of the main benefits that I'm hearing about IoT in this connection here is there is less downtime.
Yes, that is, in fact, in the session this morning, when the several users were speaking, they all spoke to reducing unplanned downtime. And there's a couple of ways that happens. One way is by an OEM, equipment manufacturer, who knows their equipment very intimately. What they will do is create a digital twin, which is call it a computer algorithm, formulas that represent how that works. So now they can, when things aren't working properly, they get data from the machine and it isn't really following this model, they know something's wrong and they can initiate some corrective action. And then the other way to do it is with machine learning. And that we see more being adopted by end users because the process is more general purpose. And there, the machine learning uses statistics, and you have to have a trainer to train it. Take over a period of time, it learns what's good behavior and what's bad behavior. And then once it starts learning that, then you can start using it to alert you when things are not going well.
Final question, just give us a snapshot, if you will, of just how serious downtime is. What would you say?
Downtime, unplanned downtime, causes a lot of suffering. And that can be described in several ways. One is, I'll use the example of your auto engine. You know, $20 worth of oil, all right? If your oil level goes too low and you don't pay attention to that light that comes on your dashboard, eventually your engine will seize. So that $20 repair cascades into a $5,000 engine replacement. So if you do it predictively, you can repair that small component before it causes a disaster. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is usually the work in process inventory, the stuff that's in the machine, has to be scrapped. So it takes time to take that out. The cost of the materials makes the downtime more extended. And during all that downtime, you're not shipping product, you're not making product, you can't ship it to your customers not getting your product for their production or for their use, so they're suffering. You don't want suffering customers because that's just not good for future sales. So downtime in general is really ugly, unplanned downtime in particular. And the goal of predictive maintenance and industrial IoT is is what I like to call nirvana. And for those of you who aren't Buddhists, nirvana means the elimination of suffering. And with IoT and predictive maintenance, you can achieve a nirvana in your manufacturing facility.
Well, clearly management begins early on. Ralph, you've given us a great overview into this very important area. Thank you so very much. I know you're busy here at the forum, but you found time to speak with us. Thanks.
Well, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
It's Ralph Rio, ARC Advisory Group, speaking with us today about the importance of EAM, Enterprise Asset Management, to industrial organizations. Thanks for watching.